But first, the latest policy area to have a big shake-up announced under the Albanese government is superannuation. And out there today, kicking it all off, was the Treasurer Jim Chalmers, who flagged widespread changes to the complex web of policies that govern your retirement, your savings. Now, you see, I'm from the camp that says super is your money, not the government's money, and certainly not the unions. But Chalmers and Labor see it differently. Labor's run by the unions, and superannuation is Labor's new union power base. Industry super funds give the left rivers of gold creamed off by way of your superannuation fees. It gives them jobs on super boards to hand out to ex-pollies and ex-union mates, and it gives them a block of votes inside most of Australia's major companies to use their investment weight to force the woke agenda. And this cosy, multi-billion-dollar setup was all carefully orchestrated and, to be honest, caught most of the Liberal Party asleep at the wheel. That's because as more and more Australian workers walked away from union membership in the 80s and 90s, the left knew they needed another way to amass clout and dollars, and managing your super savings is how they've done it. Along the way, they've got Labor, when in government, to make industry super funds a default option for workers. They've tied up more of your money in compulsory super to give them more power, and they've allowed union super fund officials to avoid the sort of transparency rules that most other big corporates have to follow. So see Labor's reform pitch today for what it is. It's not about workers and workers' super. It's about Labor and the unions and how they might use super even more ruthlessly for their own political ends. Chalmers today said he was going to legislate to rule in and rule out what you can do with your own super. Now, he's calling it a purpose test, and that, and I quote, "The purpose of compulsory super is to preserve savings and deliver income for a dignified retirement." In other words, says Chalmers, shame on the Morrison government for allowing people to withdraw some of their money during the pandemic when 3 million of us withdrew, on average, around $12,000 each.
Some of the most disastrous policy proposals we've seen in recent years, like allowing those billions to be withdrawn from balances during the pandemic, have come about in part because our predecessors were navigating the super landscape without a compass.
Now, if the Treasurer gets his way, he'll also legislate a ban on super being used for a home deposit, as the Morrison government flagged during last year's election campaign, even though owning your own home is the best guarantee of a decent life in retirement. Now, there are some things like dental treatment that I don't think super should be available for. But a home is an asset that appreciates, so it's ideological pig-headedness, not good economic policy, on display today. This super shake-up joins all the others that have been flagged. Reviews of the Reserve Bank and the Productivity Commission, reviews into employment and services, arts funding, administrative law, family law, schools, defence, and so on. All with the purpose of attacking the former coalition government and providing cover for Labor to change the system, to entrench big government, a regulatory mindset. Nothing, of course, that they took to the last election. As always, whenever this government talks policy, think politics. I've already helped explain why industry super funds are set up to arrest declining union influence. This move by Chalmers is also about getting super fund billions invested in places that support Labor's ideological agenda. Here he was on this point today.
Our ultimate prospects will be driven by the extent to which we succeed in growing the economy the right way. Growth that is shared and growth that is sustainable and lasts. And to do that, we need productivity-enhancing investment in climate and energy, in housing, the digital revolution and more.
So you or your kids won't be able to access your own super for your first home deposit. Labor will access it to build so-called affordable housing for you or someone else to rent. Now, how's that fair?